For a closer look now at what we can expect and what it means heading forward, joining us are Republican strategist Kevin Madden and Democratic strategist Jamal Simmons. Good to have both of you
Good morning.
in here in one place this morning. As we look at this, there's been a lot of talk, and Jamal, I want to direct this first one to you about how the president is moving more toward the center. Some Republicans taking credit for that. Is he hurting his standing with his own party?
I don't think he's hurting his standing with his own party at all, because if you look at where Barack Obama is, the administration will tell you they started off the first 2 years dealing with crises, the economic crisis, the auto crisis. Then they went to health care, which is something that he campaigned on. Now they're coming back to some of the issues that Barack Obama campaigned on, but the White House would say they weren't able to get done in the first couple of years because of the crisis. But if you're talking about education and innovation investments, those are things that Democrats would be very happy to see.
So you're saying this is really status quo. Don't take credit for it.
No, the Republicans shouldn't take credit for it. I think the one thing is the economy has gotten stabilized, and then the American people have certainly sent a signal to the White House that the White House needs to be back to the business that they elected Barack Obama to do. And I think that's what the White House thinks they are, is they're going back to the business that Americans elected them to do 2 years ago.
And one of the things that the White House looks at that as is creating jobs, of course, Kevin. We heard from Valerie Jarrett this morning, who told Chris this speech is going to be about targeted investment, but she did also mention trimming government spending. Can you have both? How do you balance that?
Well, look, I think the first, you have to remember that in the last State of the Union, he said he was going to focus on jobs. And I think he was largely rejected by the polls by the American people because he didn't. He focused instead on health care. And I think if you look at the word targeted investment, that's a code language for spending. I think the bigger problem that this president has right now is that the American public rejected that policy that the federal government spending huge amounts of money is what's going to spur private job creation and spur the economic growth in this country. So I think right now that's probably where the canyon is going to remain between the president and Capitol Hill Republicans.
When you look at the Republican response, which we will have, of course, after the address, there are actually going to be two. There's going to be one from fiscal conservative Paul Ryan, and even some in his party have said, look, some of your policies are a little too extreme, and then also one from the Tea Party, courtesy of Michelle Bachmann. With two responses, Kevin, who's in charge on the right?
Well, I think obviously the House leadership is. There were stories before the election that there was a schism within the Republican Party with the Tea Party and the establishment, yet we still won 60-plus seats in the House. So I think that the Republican Party is still unified on core messages, which is that we need to cut spending, we need to rein in the size of government, we need to focus on growing the economy. So whether it's Michelle Bachmann giving it in one venue and Paul Ryan giving it another, the message is still the same, and I think that's what the American people are going to take away from it.
But if the message is the same, why have two different people do that? I mean, does that help the Republicans moving forward?
I bet you tonight there's probably going to be about 365 different messages from folks up there on Capitol Hill. Every single inbox has an email from some congressman or some senator who wants to put their stamp on the State of the Union.
On the State of the Union. Jamal, when you look at this, what does the president need to do? Because there are plenty of Americans out there who will say, you know what, I still don't have a job. Unemployment is 9.4%. I don't care if you may have gotten distracted by something. What does he have to do tonight to show that he's part of the solution, not part of the problem?
You know, I love the State of the Union, because the State of the Union is one of these nights like Inauguration Night where the president and politics sort of take center stage. Finally, they can compete with, Snooki and the Real Housewives because Americans are finally paying attention. They're going to rival them in audience. And so the president has to go out there tonight, and he's got to sell vision, he's got to sell values. Americans want to see this will to win, this ability to win the future, and they also want to know what he stands for, what are the big things that he wants to get done in the last 2 years. And tonight's one of the nights where he gets to do it, and everybody pays attention, and I'll be happy they get to see Michelle Bachmann fighting Paul Ryan in the after show.
Well, we will look for that. We'll also look for a little bit of the pageantry during the speech as we see who's sitting with whom on date night.
Absolutely.
As it is in Congress.
I'm sitting with Kevin.
The only thing that's missing is a movie, I think.
I think that may come later. Jamal Simmons, Kevin Madden, good to have you both here this morning. Thanks.